Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It's hard to believe we're mid-August already. So I'm Wendy Johnstone, and I do some work with the Family Caregivers of British Columbia as one of their program consultants and their caregiver coach, or one of the caregiver coaches. Thank you for being here today. And just before we jump into our topic, which is how to support a caregiver, we'd just like to remind everyone who's watching how they can get in touch with us. So just a reminder that our caregiver support line is open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we're always really happy to answer your phone calls or answer your emails, or if you have any messages that you want to send over the Facebook Messenger, we're happy to do that as well. We love to hear feedback. We love to hear your questions. It actually really helps figure out what kind of topics we want to address, get some feedback on how the content is applicable to you as family caregivers or people supporting family caregivers. We just like to remind people that on our Facebook Live posts that everything that we share, everything that is shared is visible to everyone watching or taking part. And so we can't protect confidentiality or privacy in that regard. Also, just to remember that what we share in these videos, we really try and hit a couple of key points, and we really hope they speak to, what generally caregivers are going through. We try to really listen to the feedback given to us by caregivers, and we really try and apply it, to our work going forward or in the moment. So we do hope you find it helpful. It may not be exactly what you're looking for, or it may not align completely with your caregiving situation. But we do hope that there's a couple of good nuggets. And just another reminder that we want to check our website regularly, sign up for our newsletter, social media feeds, because we really try to keep regularly updated on things like COVID, any new resources that are coming out, our podcasts, all that information is there. So today we're talking about how to support a caregiver. So this is actually directed a bit more. You might be a family caregiver watching this, or maybe you've been a family caregiver and you're now supporting a family caregiver or a friend who is a family caregiver, or you're a healthcare professional, or you're someone who works in the community as well as being a caregiver, and you want to use this information to help support a work colleague or a friend or another family member. So when someone is caring for someone who is ill or requires help, this idea of providing care and asking questions, asking how they're doing, can go a long way. Sometimes what we hear back, though, from other individuals is that it can be hard to know what to say or do. And so sometimes for fear of saying the wrong thing or for fear of overstepping a boundary, sometimes we do nothing at all. But here's the thing. Family caregivers, they often have a really hard time reaching out to ask for help. And if you've been a family caregiver, or if you are, you likely know what that's like. It's not because you don't want to, but rather there's many things that can happen. You can feel overwhelmed, you can feel that kind of capacity at managing the current role, and you just don't know how you can do one more thing. Sometimes it gets, on top of other things in your role, within life. You're not sure how to, broach someone in the workplace about it. So there's lots of reasons why it can be hard for family caregivers to reach out. So sometimes reaching in is a really nice way to help support them. So reaching out, even if it feels uncomfortable, that's probably, one of the things that we would suggest. You might be worried about saying the wrong thing. You might feel uncomfortable with watching or hearing someone else's sadness, distress, or anger, and it's completely understandable. It's normal to feel this way. We often can feel that way, as we're listening to caregivers and their stories. And so sometimes just keeping it simple and reaching out to a caregiver can help them feel less isolated or cut off from the world. So reaching out can be as simple as, gosh, I don't really know what to say, but I'm here for you. I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to get together. And as we mentioned earlier, it's completely normal to feel awkward or uncertain. So even in my role as family caregivers of BC, I can't speak for all the staff, but I suspect they feel the same way. we come across topics or situations that we aren't always sure how to help or what to say. And even in my role, doing this on a daily basis, I have my caregiver coaching tools binder, and I have all my tools and all of my cueing sheets, to help keep me, as armed as possible. So all that to say, it's not always easy to reach out, and it often gets easier over time. The other thing that we find is really important that we can often do, for example, is we might ask about the care recipient or the person they're caring for first. We encourage people to ask about how the caregiver's doing first and see how they're doing and how they're managing. They spend a lot of time advocating or supporting a care recipient or the person they're caring for, and so it's so nice to have the focus on them first, how they're managing, how they're feeling, how they're doing. The other thing that we find is that sometimes we're talking to a friend or a colleague, and we realize that maybe they're struggling to even just identify to be a family caregiver. And so without identifying as a caregiver, it can be a lot harder to find the right resources and support that can help. So you can actually help your friends, your colleagues, your family to self-identify. We have a few tools at Family Caregivers of BC, including a description of what family caregivers do, as well as a referral form into our organization. And we'll make sure those get listed below. But we have actually a form or a one-pager that helps people identify through some of the activities that they're doing if they're a family caregiver. And we also have a online referral form, and again, we'll make sure the links get into the comments here. But the referral form online is a way that you can actually, with the permission of the caregiver, refer them into our organization, and we'll follow up with a phone call. One of the things that we are faced with on a day-to-day basis as part of our work is, people call the caregiver support line or they have a coaching session because they're looking for direction, they're looking for help, they're looking for resources. And so one of the things that we strive towards is this idea of listening without judgment or trying to fix a problem. It's one of our golden rules here at Family Caregivers of BC it's give no advice unless asked for, and even then it's typically suggestions or it's typically ideas to consider. It's one of our real golden rules, and prior to any call or email, we really check in with ourselves because we are so passionate, we're so caring. But someone like myself, for example, sometimes I love to be an expert and I love to fix problems, and that's just who I am. And so even for me, it's really important to take that step back. So why is listening so important? Well, I know it seems obvious, but within the caregiving journey, or the trajectory as we call it, it can really help the caregiver process the challenges and allow them to feel validated and heard. Listening without judgment is one of the best ways you can support a family caregiver. Often that's enough for the person. You can let them know you're open to hearing more about their situation by asking questions like, what's your biggest concern about caring for your mom? Or would it be helpful for you to tell me what happened today, with your son or your spouse? When a caregiver is struggling to express their challenges, sometimes we just want to help them so badly. We see their pain, we feel their pain, and so we want to jump in to help solve the problems at hand. And what the research also shows is that we're, as humans, it really depends on where we're at in our own personal space and journey. And so it's really important that the caregiver is in a place where they can be open to a suggestion, rather than assuming if they want advice. So the approach, sometimes can be, are you okay if I make a suggestion, or do you want to hear what helped in my situation, and then give them that option to say yes or no. And if they say no, oh gosh, don't feel offended. It's just that maybe they're not ready, and what they really need is emotional support. We use a technique, it's called motivational interviewing. And the two main areas we find the most helpful is, of course, compassion. So really caring about what is important to that other person, and acceptance, and that is respecting another person and their right to change or not to change. And that, our role is really to be this conduit, this facilitator around information, ideas, suggestions, where to find resources to help draw them out what they think their solutions are, or ideas for change for themselves. One of the other ways that can be really helpful to support a caregiver is to ask to help in very specific ways what they need. So asking, what can I do to help, opens dialogue for the caregiver to accept their help specific to their needs. So there's something that we call the time commodity with family caregivers, and it includes, there's the time the caregiver spends with the care recipient, there's time that's spent on behalf of the care recipient, things like scheduling appointments and emotional support, doing activities with that care recipient, writing contingency plans, the time getting to and from a wide variety of appointments or grocery shopping, and the time spent monitoring or managing care. And so there can be a lot of time that a caregiver is having to provide within their role, and so trying to help free up time for the caregiver to spend on themselves, for their own self-care, recharging, just to breathe, is often really helpful. So asking a very specific way that they can help within your comfort level is often very helpful. And so that could mean that you could end up making a meal for someone. You could end up sitting with the person they're caring for, so that the caregiver can go out. You can actually help them find resources. You can do some research for them. You can make some phone calls. Really depends, but trying to be specific is very helpful. The last piece, of course, is referring them to resources. So knowing what's available in your community or in the province can be a huge help. And this could be one area that you could suggest helping with. Sometimes just trying to gather information is and finding resources is a lot of work and a lot of time on the phone. And of course, Family Caregivers of BC, we're here to help caregivers online, in person, over the phone. And so we can certainly be your starting place to help you get started in supporting a family caregiver. And we like to remind people that, that here at Family Caregivers of BC, each of us has been a family caregiver, or we're currently a family caregiver, and we understand the different aspects of caregiving. And if we don't know the answer right away, we'll certainly work to try and find out the answer, or to help better direct callers into the right support. So in terms of where you can find more support and resources, obviously giving us a call or an email is your first place. We have some really great caregiver support groups, virtual, in terms of Greater Victoria and the province, and one virtual men's group. So you can find more information about that on the website. If you're working with someone, or if you have a friend or a colleague that is having a really hard time navigating the healthcare system, doesn't quite know, needs maybe a bit more direction, information around system healthcare navigation, or they're going through a very complex situation, then referring them into us, but also knowing that they can receive some one-to-one support through the caregiver support line and through coaching is also really helpful. The podcasts are also a great form of sharing family caregiving stories and the trials and tribulations of that. So as we wrap up today, our action for consideration this month. So what's one thing you can do to support a family caregiver in your life? Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or reach out to us directly. And we look forward to seeing you again. Bye.